It's 5. We're live. Welcome to Frankly Speaking, where truth is our mission, barely our realm, and said as we see it in Frankly as well. I'm Joe Spina, along with the sages, Malcolm, Ralph, and Avram, and we have a pretty packed show today, you know. I want to get to our roving reporter because I noticed that she was in the Lynn Journal, and she's kind of a rose between two thorns. Rick Starbard, the Ward 2 councilor, and Dick Woods, and there in the middle is Estelle, who is our roving reporter, who we're going to have on this show one of these days.
Yep.
All right.
So she does well. And we want to remind folks, I just sailed for $5 myself. The Greek, is it this weekend?
Yes.
This
Yes,
weekend,
it is.
right.
At St. George's Church. I put my $5 up, hoping to win anything.
Starts
which I never
tomorrow
do.
night. Starts tomorrow night for 3 days.
And by the way, it's a great take. So if any of you have nothing to do or are bored and want to get out.
Hungry.
Yeah, that's it. So let's go right up with this new thing. I never knew about this, kosher marijuana. Can we put that up there, Dave? And there it is. How do I say that? Oye?
Oy vey.
There is now kosher certified marijuana. Did you know that?
I had no idea until I saw it on TV, and I must tell you, from my own personal taste, I find that to be very embarrassing.
Well, we're going to put a little clip up. And Malcolm, you saw it too, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Right.
They what they want to do is they want to sell to everybody. They want to get in the Jewish population
Right.
into the marijuana business.
Are you sure?
Right.
Oh, I'm sure.
You think it's a business
I thought
proposition?
the rabbi was going to show up tonight, and I brought some marijuana. I wanted him to bless it so it could be kosher.
They don't bless.
Oh, okay. I
They
didn't know.
do something
How do I
different.
know?
Do they bless?
Do they bless?
Not that, no.
No, not the way you're talking about, you know.
Not
Folks, we have a little clip from Kush.
Take a walk in the store and you'll likely see an OU stamp on many products on the shelves. The two-letter symbol stands for Orthodox Union, letting shoppers know this product has been approved. There's now a new product to add to that list, kosher medical marijuana. Rabbi Elephant says, Rabbi Elephant says the laws of keeping kosher are especially sacred. Are you guys laughing at me? I said elephant and I felt like that sounded like an animal. Right? So I didn't want to make it sound like an elephant.
It sounded like elephant.
Yeah.
The elephant in the room right now is the
Elephant.
pronunciation of his name.
Elephant.
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 It has an A, but it's not like a long A.
Is it two
Elephant.
words?
No, it's one word.
Elephant.
Yeah, elephant.
Got it.
Elephant. When it came to approving kosher weed, that decision was and still is pretty controversial.
The OU is not certifying pot. The OU is not certifying drugs. The OU is not certifying recreational marijuana. In fact, the OU doesn't certify cigarettes.
So the process took about a year to extend the certification to medical marijuana. He also says marijuana is naturally kosher. It's not the product, but the machinery that needs to be regularly inspected to make sure that non-kosher items aren't used in the same space.
When you hear people telling you how this is improving the quality of their lives, and they therefore want it kosher certified, it's hard to say no.
Where can you score some kosher weed? Well, Vario Health in New York, the only dispensary serving kosher-approved medical marijuana in the nation.
When you first said that it was kosher weed, I had to laugh because it's a natural product. It is naturally kosher. So how much more kosher does it have to be?
Weed is weed. If they need weed, why does it have to be kosher? I mean, it's medication, right? So why do they feel like it has to be special in a certain way? Isn't it just as effective?
Well, it seems to me that this is a new phenomenon. And is it for edibles too?
Well, the thing of it is, what the rabbi said, that if you're not well and you're very sick and you need to take medication and you need to know that your medication is strictly kosher, that's why he's giving a certification. I thought he was doing it on just getting high. They would never do such a thing like that. But relatively speaking, if you're sick and you need marijuana, you need to know that it's okay, acceptable, and they're checking it out.
So on that predicate, you accept it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There's going to be cookies and candy,
Yeah,
I understand.
they cookies, candies, brownies,
Right.
food.
And it's proposed for Sanderson Avenue here in Lynn.
What?
It's proposed for Sanderson Avenue
Ave,
here
yeah.
in Lynn. That's what I heard.
Where's that?
It's proposed that they bring it into Lynn.
Yeah.
You mean kosher marijuana?
The kosher marijuana is to Sanderson Avenue,
off,
yes.
I believe that's off of Eastern Ave.
Right.
I hope you don't put them on.
Well, I can't do anything about that right now. Anyways, the rabbi, as usual, showed up late after the fact. So, Rabbi, find yourself the seat, and we'll try to mic you up.
Sneak you one.
Yeah, walk right in front of the camera while you're doing it.
That's
And
okay.
apologize to Avram, who has been sweating bullets for you.
I can't do it. Tom.
You know.
I couldn't figure out how to do that, the bells.
Right. So,
Mints on the bells.
when we get a chance, we'll mic you up. But we're going to go to, by the way, we can't hear you, but we just did a little thing on medical marijuana, kosher marijuana, and there was a rabbi smoking a joint, and did you notice that? You know, in that
Well,
graphic.
but you're talking that's for medical purposes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you say that for that purpose it makes sense, and I suspect you would. But we're going to move over to the to a poll question while the rabbi's getting mic'd up. And if you could throw a little, there's a 40-second clip of J&J. If you could put that up there, Dave. I don't know if you have it queued up yet. There it
Scott,
is.
the judge here in Oklahoma has found for the state and against Johnson & Johnson, declaring that J&J caused a public nuisance here in the state of Oklahoma, caused this opioid crisis. He says it can be abated and has ordered Johnson & Johnson to pay $572 million to abate the opioid crisis here in the state of Oklahoma. Now, that is less than some on Wall Street were looking for, though it is much more than Purdue settled for, which was $270 million. So the judge here in Oklahoma finding for the state against Johnson & Johnson, ordering J&J to pay $572 million. We'll bring you any more we get from here, which will be a lot. We'll hear from both parties very soon. Back over to you guys.
Meg Terrell, thank you. We are seeing a pop in J&J stock after hours, up 3.3%, perhaps on that point that Meg just made, that it was less money, perhaps, than it could have been, right, Mike? That they were ordered to pay $572 million.
Yeah, not a tremendous number for J&J, obviously. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't free the company permanently. It's still an ongoing process. There's going to be further liability for the industry down the road, but clearly, on a trading basis, the market was leaning toward the possibility that it could have been a much bigger ruling in terms of financial impact.
Well, this could certainly have a bigger impact for other cases, including that big Ohio one.
Well, here's the point. Here's the poll question, folks. The judge rules against J&J, Johnson & Johnson, in a landmark opioid case. So I ask you, do you agree with the judge's decision? And I ask you, Malcolm, do you?
With the opioid situation, to label one company as the
culprit
reason, Johnson & Johnson being the sole reason that we have an opioid crisis, is ridiculous.
So
there are other businesses that are in the opioid manufacturing business that they should go after also.
China being one of the great opioid providers.
Dealing with Hunter Biden, that has had dealings with China.
But the thing will be is Johnson & Johnson will not appeal it, and I'll tell you why. $572 million to
It's
about
a drop in the bucket.
$38 billion corporation. By the time they pay the money, it's come back in the other door.
Yeah.
By the way, that's about the same amount of money of Jeffrey Epstein's estate, right? $570 million.
That's chump change. At the same time, they're not saying that Johnson & Johnson is specifically responsible for the opioid crisis, but they're saying that they did contribute to it. So they're going after each company.
Well, the thing is you've got Johnson & Johnson, they're saying, is a contributor to the opioid situation. And also, you can even broaden that, where you have people in the hospitals that are pushing opioids onto patients. My wife was one of them. After she came out of surgery, the first thing they did is they put her on and the opioid of Dilaudid, which is a highly addictive drug.
But is it necessary at the time? And she came out of surgery, serious surgery.
Right.
Now, isn't that an appropriate use?
Well, the thing is you have other drugs that they could have used. With Dilaudid, I know a lot about Dilaudid from the federal grand jury, and they use that to snow cancer patients. Put them in la-la land before they die.
But you know what happens? An ex-girlfriend of mine who was a doctor at the Brigham and Women's Hospital said to me that the drug companies will come to you and will say, look, we're going to put you on a week's vacation. We're going to fly you down to Denver, Colorado. We're going to have a meeting. You're going to have all kind of fun. You're going to go skiing and this and that. But do us a favor. Push this medication for us. And 9 out of 10 times, she said to me, why do the doctors do it? Because doctors are in debt up through their teeth.
Yeah.
Okay, from the time they leave.
Educational
from the time Exactly. From the time they finish and they're working at the hospital and getting paid next to nothing, they got a $300,000 debt. This is paying towards it's hard pressed not to say no.
When I came out of my 6-hour operation, all right, I was not in pain even on my sheet. The nurse wanted to know if I needed any oxy or morphine. I said, I have no pain, but they had already prescribed the oxy and the morphine, which I don't really understand. Maybe most people who come out of surgery like I was in were in pain. I was not in pain.
Well, they are an exception. But what about those that are in pain?
Well, the ones who are in pain
See, the problem,
need morphine or Oxycontin.
The purpose of painkillers is to kill pain.
Absolutely.
It's a positive, not a negative.
Absolutely.
It can be abused.
Right.
That's the problem. Rabbi, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
No, not necessarily. I'm not as well versed in this particular topic. However, it just seems to me medical use is one thing, recreational is something else.
That's the problem. The problem is there's an abuse taking place by people who have, quote unquote, free will. And if they choose to use it badly, I have a little difficulty with that because Johnson & Johnson, and folks, let me give you a disclaimer. I was employed by Johnson & Johnson in my younger years for about 5 years. I found them to be a marvelous company. They treated me very well, and they were a very honorable and reputable company, by the way. Tylenol, baby powder, and all that type of stuff. I'm a little concerned about the good that a lot of pharmaceutical companies do that get shortchanged, that's all.
My freshman year of school at NYU, there was a guy across the hall from me. And he had a Mercedes-Benz when you never even heard of what a Mercedes. This is 1969. He was Keith Johnson. Keith Johnson was the family. He was part of the family from Johnson & Johnson. Keith died in a motel room 2 years later of an overdose of heroin. When he died, the obituary column said, "The heir apparent to Johnson & Johnson." What a lousy way to go out to have to say it like that, okay?
Yeah. So the poll question, folks, is for this week is, do you agree with the judge's decision, a landmark decision on the opioid case? That's what it comes down to. What was it, 557, 552, something in that range. We have last week's results in, and the poll question last week was, should Joe Kennedy III challenge Senator Markey? 80%. Well, I don't know what the sample size was, but that's good. 80% said yes. You say that you got word on the street because you got you're locked into the folks that know what they're talking about.
It's a very disrespectful thing to do. I don't like either of them. That's not. But the fact of the matter is, they told Markey, "This is your last run."
And that means that Joe Kennedy is not running?
He's going to run. He's already given himself an out by saying he has to consider what his family's got 2 young kids.
Do you think he might be looking to be a governor instead of a senator?
This I don't know.
All right. So anyway, that was 80-20, that people actually want Markey to be challenged. And you?
No, Markey is doing a reasonable job. I agree with everyone. I'm not a great fan of either one. But, there's something else here, too. Let's presume for a moment that the Democrats win the Senate in 2020. Okay? Now, if that happens, Markey's been there for a while. He becomes a committee chairman by seniority. And he can do more, as the old Kennedy saying was, Markey can do more for Massachusetts. He's bumped off by a freshman who's the lowest man on the totem pole. The people of Massachusetts are going to suffer.
What happens with the fact that Elizabeth Warren is running? What happens if she accidentally becomes president?
Then Baker appoints a temporary person who he'll appoint a Republican, and then there'll be an election.
But you tell me that the fix is in for Biden already. Biden is going to get the nomination.
And now they're talking about having Kamala Harris. Well, I'm telling you in advance, you'll say, Jesus, how the hell did that guy know it? Kamala Harris may be his vice president.
Of course. Female, black, minority from California.
If any of the Democrats become the president, the House will remain Democrat and the Republicans will lose the Senate, and this whole country will completely change.
I'm not saying that he's going to win. I'm saying that they told me before he dropped his head in the ring.
Yeah.
He went to all the old guys whose names, if I was to tell you, well, who the hell's that? It doesn't mean a thing to you. They told him, you're going to get the nomination.
I was listening to, I believe it was called Dana Perino. She has a show on at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and Karl Rove was on. And they were talking about Democrats are really jittery about their prospects that no one's talking about.
Democratic
that they've
Party is
looked into
falling
all of
apart.
these districts, and the Republicans are energized. They've got all kinds of money. The Democrats have got nothing, and that the opportunities for them to take over the Senate, you were talking about, Ralph, just aren't there.
No.
It looks like the Senate will remain in Republican hands, but if a Democratic president wins and brings out the electorate, then they're in trouble in the Senate also. I'm doing an analysis right now of all the congressmen.
Do you
Very
honestly think that the Democrat candidates that are there now can beat Trump?
Yes.
No.
I don't think there's a prayer
No
in
way,
hell.
no way in hell.
I think
The thing is,
Ouch, ouch, ouch. Let's get ouch up there.
Because what you don't hear, the people
Look
that
at this, hold it.
Well-
Ouch, ouch. The Dow Jones is down 573 points. Perhaps on the news that Representative Seth Moulton, whoever that might be, has dropped out of the 2020 presidential race. That's what the president tweeted. I think that's a great tweet, huh?
Amazing.
Huh?
he never had a chance.
781-780-9460.
I also have to announce
Gilbert
now
had
that
to.
I have also dropped out of the
dropped out
presidential
yesterday.
race.
Right.
I was tied with
You're gonna have
Markey, with Moulton.
But let's
we
see
were
what-
both tied with 0%.
well, let's see what Moulton had to say.
We were tied with 0%.
Well, let's see what Moulton had to say, because then you can speak to it. We got a little clip here.
Today, I want to use this opportunity with all of you here to announce that I am ending my campaign for president. Though this campaign is not ending the way I had hoped, I am leaving this race knowing that we raised issues that are vitally important to the American people and our future. I couldn't have done any of this without my amazing wife Liz and daughter Emmy behind me. I couldn't have done it without my extraordinary team, who worked incredibly hard for a long-shot candidate because they believed in me, in our mission, like they believe in our country. And I definitely couldn't have done it without everyone who supported me and came out to events and donated and volunteered for this campaign all across the country. Each of you reminds me everywhere and every day of what truly makes America great. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. While this is the end of my campaign, it is certainly not the end of our efforts. I will once again be running for Congress in the 6th District of Massachusetts, my home, and I can't wait to get back at it.
What's interesting, if he had the corncob pipe, you know?
Yeah.
Folks, if you don't remember, that was General Douglas MacArthur who had the pipe, right?
He was showing 0 in the
You see,
polls.
it's very simple. They told him it's impossible, and number 2, you may lose your seat in Congress.
So what did he do immediately? Didn't he just say, I'm running?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's the point. Now, if you look at the item today, all of a sudden he's doing wonderful things for the marina. Notice he got $1.5 million for the Lynn Marina. Why? Because Lynn is the most important city in the district, correct?
That city is like 3 years old. That story is 3 years old, by the way.
Of course it is, but the item is in his pocket.
And I
Absolutely.
remember you saying to me that he's in New Hampshire's backyard. He's going to win in New Hampshire. He didn't stand a chance in hell.
You have to remind me, huh?
He made a fool of himself.
You getting even with me
And
here?
I'll tell you something else. At this party, you know Lupita hardly ever goes to parties. I'm there with Capuano, and I'm there with Mr. Senator Markey, who looks very old and very upset.
That's who he wanted to run against, Bolton, you know. He wanted to run against Markey.
Well, here's the thing. I personally said to Capuano something in very I said, how could you possibly lose to that Schwarzer? Are you stupid? And he says to me, I've seen that show of yours. Okay, I've seen that show of yours. Okay, you talk the same way in public. He said to me, I didn't take it seriously. That's just what he said. I didn't
Plus, the
take it.
district has changed
It has nothing
demographically.
to do with it. He shouldn't have lost. He did nothing.
Of course he shouldn't have lost.
He did nothing.
But he did. But he did. And by the way, Moulton doesn't have a shoo-in.
No,
He's
he
already
don't.
got one challenger from Salem, and two council from Salem female.
Yep.
And don't think that
Tierney is
Tierney
gonna
might not jump back
in.
into that race.
Tierney is probably weighing his options right now when he's putting together a campaign to see can he get past what happened to him the last time around.
Of course.
For all
By the way,
intents and
did you
purposes,
notice?
Moulton's career
Did you
is
notice
over.
that his farewell was orchestrated? That wasn't spontaneous.
No, of course
you
not.
You notice the clips were all prearranged?
Yeah.
By the way, I want to know whether you folks think, let's put this up. Is Lynn or is Chicago visiting Lynn? Let's get that graphic up there. 781-780-9460. And the reason why I did that is because, slam bam, thank you, man, they're shooting people.
Yeah. It's like the gunfight at OK Corral in this city.
It's getting like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Chicago, or whatever ails Chicago, seems to be...
Wasn't it just a short while ago that McGee said that Lynn was one of the more favorable cities to live in?
Right, that's what he said.
And yet we have murders every week.
Let's hear from the rabbi.
Yeah, no, just noting, when I left here a couple of weeks ago, a night or two, we were on Union Street in Lynn over here. A night or two later, I see on the news a shooting on Union Street. I turned to my wife and I said, I was just there.
Yeah. Someone had a knife in his chest, didn't he?
Right. That was the week before, I think.
Right.
Right.
That's called a death.
But this is no longer local news. This is becoming big news.
Yeah. That's the point. Yeah. So Chicago, or whatever ails Chicago, whatever is now spreading Baltimore, Philadelphia, San Fran. You cannot live in L.A. anymore. Yeah. Do you see the pictures, the visuals of L.A., the street, and the feces all over the place, huh? I mean, here's what happened.
California is nothing but tent city.
But let me ask this. Let me throw this out. Comey got a wrist slap, correct?
Yep.
Clinton got a wrist slap. If you start exonerating people on things that they should go to jail for, meanwhile, Paul Manafort is pretty much got a life sentence, right?
Yeah, that's unreal.
All right. The point I'm trying to make is, if you start, and they're decriminalizing everything, if you don't, if venial sins are no longer considered sins, what happens when you get to major sins, capital sins?
Yep. Mortal.
They're watered down, right? So this is what's happening now. We have a breakdown, and there has to be a concurrent punishment for bad deeds. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
Is this what, Rabbi, this is your field.
Yeah, well, look, many, many years ago, when I was living in New York, I was on a radio show, and we were talking about criminals getting off. A great phrase, if you're old enough to pray, P-R-E-Y, you're old enough to pay. Teenagers who get off like
Just
this?
take the air out of there.
If you're old enough to pray, you're old enough to pay.
Here's the funny feature. They don't even want to call them criminals or felons anymore. They soften the language.
Yeah, D.A. Rachel Roberts in Boston, look what she said.
Yeah.
Right.
How about you talk about, wasn't it the DA that was elected in Boston, in which she said shoplifting is no longer a crime?
Rachel Robinson, and plus assaults on police will not be prosecuted. Assaults on policemen.
So therefore they get dunked with water, people spit in their face and stuff like that?
I can't believe there hasn't been a revolution over this woman. It's unbelievable to me.
Yeah, but it isn't unbelievable. It's the way it's going. And if you listen to young people, if you have AOC, is that her name?
Yeah.
Alexandria, the great one?
Right.
She's got the brain of a reptile. Now, let me put it to you this way. She turns around and she says, oh, by the way, you old people don't know diddly. Us young people know everything, right? Well, how come the young people are so much in love with socialism?
Right.
If they were that bright, they'd realize how bad socialism is, wouldn't they?
Younger people have really changed. I was reading the Herald today down the beach. I take my walk every Thursday down the beach. I usually read the Herald. I grab a chair and read the Herald.
Weren't out today.
Well, that's that too. But in the Herald, a very interesting article today. In 1960, 72% of people were married. In 2016, only 50% of people were married. And also, in 1998, 62% thought religion was important to them. These are people between 18 and 38. All right? That was 1998. 62% thought religion was important. Today, only 50% of people think religion is important.
So what's your conclusion from that? What are you trying to tell me?
We become more of an immoral
But
nation.
why is that happening? See, the question is, you're right, and everything you say is right. But the question becomes, why is it happening? Why is it that people don't pay attention to what the rabbi has to say anymore, like they once did? Or the priest in our faith, they did it to themselves, by the way.
Absolutely.
Okay? So if you want to know what happened, I can tell you that when we found out about what priests were doing, that was such a turnoff, and that was probably the most serious thing about the turnaround and attitudes.
Oh, without a doubt.
Right?
Without a doubt, sir.
Joe, can I interject something here? You know, in another life, I was once a school teacher, taught social studies. I taught social studies sometimes in high school, usually to kids a couple of grades below reading level.
Right.
Yet, in about 3 minutes, I was able to show them where socialism is inherently flawed. It is so simple. You know, socialism is based on what has been said, each according to his ability, each according to his need. You've heard that phrase before, I'm sure, many
Yes,
times.
I have.
Okay. Example. You have a socialist factory. There's Joe Smith, and there's, I don't know, Billy Doe. Now, Joe Smith has a big family, but he's not that bright. He's not that sharp. Billy, bright guy, but he's single. What's going to happen? Joe is expected to put out more on the line because he's more competent, each according to his ability. But Billy has a larger family, each according to his need. He does the work, he gets the rewards. After a while, he's going to say, what am I busting my chops for if he's getting all the stuff? He can slow down.
He's going to say, how come I can't get married and have 10 kids?
Is what?
He's going to say, how come I can't get married and have 10 kids? Well, the reason why is because you're going to support the other guy, right?
Maybe. But the fact of the matter is, sooner or later, he's going to slow down.
It's a very simple formulation. Humans are not clones of one another. We are uniquely individuals.
That's right.
And consequently, there's no such thing as egalitarianism among humans.
That's right.
Socialism is an egalitarian idea, concept that is impossible to be applied to humans.
That's right.
And anybody that doesn't realize that is a fool.
I'd say nearly half the country think that's possible, though.
Because they want for nothing, Ralph. It's got nothing to do with their thought process. It's got to do with greed.
But this is how they've been taught this way in the colleges for years. Socialism.
They've been indoctrinated by a bunch of folks who believe in, they don't believe in merit. They have tenured. They can't get fired, for God's sake.
I was taught Keynesian economics, although now I'm a conservative. Keynesian.
Yeah, I understand that. That's the left wing. Yeah.
John Maynard Keynes.
Yeah. Right. But I'm not. See, I studied von Hayek, who opposed him. Okay.
Look what happened. Look what happened. The father of socialism, Plato. He publishes a republic. Some rich guy comes, gives him a lot of money, and says, here's a city-state. Make your ideas work. It failed miserably.
Plato, huh?
Human beings are not, by nature, altruistic. That's
Lynn
it.
Classical High School, let's put this up there. And these are just fact sheets. Lynn Classical High School is accredited. Lynn Classical High School is underperforming. Lynn Classical High School is a welcoming school. Lynn Classical must deal with an influx of at-risk students with issues. Lynn Classical's biggest challenge is the number of at-risk students that it has no idea it's going to get until next week or the week thereafter, correct?
That's right.
Yeah. Few at-risk students have gone through 8 years of Lynn Public School education. Most at-risk students have huge lapses in their education. Many do not speak English. Yes?
If this was on national TV and you use that as an example, can I say one thing? This city would be in a lot of trouble. I have a lot of explanations because, number one, that's what I've been telling you when I first met you, when you put me on the show a year ago. No one in this city is getting an education for the amount of money that you are spending. You are flushing money down a toilet.
And the reason is?
Because there's too many people here that don't belong here.
And why is that the case?
Because this is a welcoming city. And
if you go beyond the welcoming city, so you're saying to me that these at-risk students, which is the definition, right? Malcolm, an at-risk student, try to define it for me.
It has multiple definitions.
Yeah.
Exactly, and no one can define it.
Pull whatever definition you want out of it.
It's a catch-all.
Yeah.
Okay, but the real thing is that if you refine it, if you focus it, if you bring it down, it's Central American, non-English speaking teenager,
but it goes even
unaccompanied
deeper than
minor,
that.
right?
Why do these parents drop their kids off at school because it's free daycare?
That's in some instances.
That's in most instances.
No, but we're talking about the at-risk students that are going to swarm.
Both parents have to be at work. They got no place to put their kids. Go to school.
That got nothing to do with the influx of students. That's stable. The influx of students is a consequence, and it happens in the 9th grade. And what is happening is that you're getting a whole bunch of kids who are coming through the open borders. This is federal policy, right? Coming through the open borders to a welcoming city, and they must be educated. We should educate. And by the way, these are not bad kids. I tutor them.
I believe you have to educate them until the age of 27.
No question. And some of them have gray hair.
Why
And
27?
some of them temples are gray, by the way.
My
We have
wife,
no
my
idea.
wife used to be a homeschool teacher for the Lynn school system.
Well, wait a second.
And she
There are no papers to follow these kids. You understand? We have no idea what their ages are.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
they're not beyond the 9th grade. They could be 20 years old. They're in the 9th grade.
Yep.
They don't speak English like my dad, who didn't speak English when he came here. So we're not talking about whether they're good or bad people. We're just talking about the situation. So like you said, we have an overload. Each year we pick up somewhere between 300 to 700 students unaccounted for.
That's a hell of a lot.
You bet. At 15,000, and that is without special needs.
Yeah.
Per head.
That's
So that adds about $5 to $10 million to the school budget, city budget, every single year.
And the thing
which is why we have problems.
These students are being forced on the city.
That's right.
We have no say over the matter.
That's
They're
right.
saying, you take them, or we'll pull whatever funds we can out of the city, and you're going to have nothing.
And almost all of them cannot speak English fluently, I believe. Isn't
They don't
that
speak
true?
English at all, most of them.
At all.
Like two of them. Yeah.
You know, a lot of this, I think, has to do with the motivation of the people coming. My great-grandparents or grandparents came over here. They spoke Yiddish, Russian, or whatever. They came from Russia, Poland. No one coddled them. You can't speak English, and we're going to do everything in Russian and Polish or Yiddish. We had to step by step by step learn English. Today, there's bleeding hearts who are saying, well, if you can't speak English, everything's translated into Spanish.
Well,
You don't want to
you're
offend
talking to the choir.
Oh.
None of my siblings spoke English when they came to this country. They were teenagers, okay?
But they learned.
One was 11, huh?
But they learned.
No. What happened, they learned because they were put into a special English class for 1 year, nothing else. All three of them, even though that they were 2 years, 2 years, and 2 years apart. So we'll call
basically
it
what you call
17 to
English
11.
immersion.
What?
English immersion.
Yeah, but
And the teacher couldn't speak any language but English.
yeah, but the difference between then and now is
Immense.
Then there were no welfare benefits.
That's
There
right.
was nothing. Hello, you're here. Get the hell out of my face, okay?
That's part of it. The reason why I wanted to talk about this classical situation is because a few years back, classical won national recognition for being a stellar school.
I believe it was in the top 25.
It won a number of citations, correct?
I believe it was in the top 25 in the country.
How many years ago was this?
Not long ago.
What's not
Probably
long
about
ago?
six
Within
or
the last
seven.
decade.
That's 10 years.
10 years at most. So what has changed is this welcoming school mindset. It's what has happened to classical. It's still accredited. It's considered underperforming because it is asked and tasked to do the impossible. And I'm not going to allow people to take a look at a Lynn school system, of which I'm a member, and turn around and chastise them for trying to do the impossible dream, the impossible job. And it's got more to do with federal sociological policies and the divine ideas of tinkerers that like to tinker with society and leave things alone.
Yep.
You know, you said it right. You taught social studies. Your grandparents, how you came into the country. Same with and most of us are products of immigration anyhow.
All of us are.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we
One
were
way or
Irish. We all could speak English. We were very, very smart.
Well, you spoke English to start with. It wasn't that you were that bright. Well, let me put it this way.
That's a good point.
You ate potatoes. How bright can you be?
Yeah, and then they made
So-
vodka.
We didn't have any pasta.
Kidding, folks. Just kidding. So we got a little graphic of the at-risk students. And we'd like to hear from you about these at-risk students. Who are they, by the way? 781-780-9460. Now, before we go into our stream of consciousness, I have one other thing to do. And no, I have a couple. Let's get over to Nahant if we can. We got that graphic out. Northeastern University has proposed to build a 60,000 square foot coastal sustainability institute on East Point. Nahant residents are adamantly opposed. Nahant says no. Any thoughts on this?
I believe, isn't that the old Nike base?
Yeah,
They want to do that?
You know, they're the bunkers, right?
Yeah.
But here you have an educational institution trying to do a good thing, right? and you have neighbors who don't like the idea.
You think to bring some jobs there too? Of course, there's not many stores. They don't really care about the economy over there.
What they're basing it on, they think that's going to bring down their property values. That's all it comes down to.
You think it's going to do with property values?
Absolutely.
Might be a little bit more than that. I've driven in the Hunt. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's quiet.
It is.
This is going to be a lot of traffic and a lot of people who they don't want.
Why would there be a lot of traffic and a lot of people at a research facility?
It's right down the street from Gennaro Angiulo's house.
But it's still, they're saying, my house is worth X number of dollars. You come here, it's going to be worth a little less X number of dollars. Okay, that's what it comes down to.
You know, it is a beautiful spot. And so the collision becomes between do the local folks have the right to determine what their community. You know, I'm kind of sympathetic to the Nahantas, to be honest with you, on this issue, because this is exactly what's wrong with the city of Lynn as far as the schools are concerned. Because they can't say, as you point out, Ralph, Lynn can't say, by the way, we've had our take.
Right.
Peabody, you take some. Here, you take some. Linfield.
We get them all. That's the problem.
To be frank with you, I think there's more Spanish-speaking people in Lynn now than there are white people.
Well, Spanish-speaking people are not necessarily not white.
I'm surprised they haven't taken over.
40% of the city of Lynn is Spanish-speaking.
Well, okay, that's a hell of a lot.
Yes, and they should be involved in politics more than they are. I agree, but I don't think that that's the issue in itself.
Then there's the police department, the fire department. How come they haven't gone in for that?
That's true. It should have a better representation.
But they don't. And you know why? Because unlike the school system, the fire department and the police department can keep them the hell out.
You mean they determined not to hire?
Exactly.
I don't know if that's true.
I'm a little confused about something. Maybe you can enlighten me. Before, you've mentioned once or twice already that Lynn is basically forced to take these people because of federal programs. What about, isn't Trump saying, if you are a sanctuary city, we're going to hold back money? How do these two things mesh?
Because the Commonwealth of Massachusetts has been, some people say it's the Commonwealth of, of whatever, Socialist Republic.
The state constitution says...
If your governor, though he's nominally a Republican, and if your senators and your representatives and your whole structure is Democratic, and you have a constituency that you have to abide by, then people in the city of Lynn are not about to go against that. The power structure says that we're going to be a welcoming city, and that's the end of that one.
But that's state. You're implying before federal funds.
Well, look, California's told Trump to take a hike, haven't they, fundamentally? Most of these sanctuary cities said, screw you.
If they're here, they have to be educated.
The whole idea of federalism, and in many ways, I'm in favor of this. I just got to make an update. We're going to be doing live coverage of the primary on Tuesday, September 3rd.
And you're going to be there.
I'm going to be hosting it along with Gina. So if you folks need to find out what's happening, there's actually only one race, Ralph, that matters.
Ward 6.
Six is four people running, I think. Four.
No, I think there's more than that. 6.
Oh, the six.
Are there any Spanish people running?
No,
yeah.
Very few.
Yeah.
There is one. There is one in Ward 6.
Imagine if it was a 666. Oh my God. So you can tune in on that one. Anyway, we're not going to solve all these problems, but we have to bring them up and talk about them because nobody does.
Get people to think about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame that more people aren't running, by the way. Isn't it a shame that more people aren't running?
Yes, it is a shame.
It is.
And maybe more people should run, particularly folks who speak or who's not native, but whose first language was Spanish should be, expressing their views.
You think they would? There's very few Spanish, and they don't assimilate well into the political environment like the Irish did.
Well, you spoke English to start with, and plus you came from the same culture. You can't. It's apples and oranges.
I can remember the city of Lynn and its old political heydays.
Day and night, 16 jobs.
What was that?
These Spanish people, they're not just hanging around at the beach. They're working.
They're hard workers.
They have no time for this.
They're entrepreneurs. And look, I tutor many of these kids who come from Central America and from around the world. That's my job, right? In order for them to pass MCAS. So I know what their language skills are. I'm empathetic toward them because I have family history, okay?
Do they pass the MCAS?
Yes, I have a very high, not because of me. I hope, Yes, because of me. I know. They do quite well, and that's why they call me back. But the point being is that what I see, in all fairness, these kids always come to school. They're very polite, well dressed, well mannered. Most of them go to work right after school.
Yeah.
They work 40, 50 hours a week, and they get to bed late, and they come to school every day. And I have the utmost respect for their work ethic. And I will say this over and over again, perhaps we can learn from them. They're intact families. You know, they stay
Very
together.
family orientated.
And they're religious.
Most of them are very
So
religious.
they have everything that we need to be reminded of.
That's right.
So I'm a fan. And the more, the merrier. Now, here's the thing, speaking of ethnicities, I happen to like the smell of garlic and onion. Some people don't. I do. But in any case, Keller Cuisine, if we can throw that up, is currently constructing $200,000 ventilation system designed to alleviate odor. This is on top of $700,000 that they spent last year on a couple of smokestack, stainless steel smokestack, which some people said alleviated it, right? Anyway, Keller Cuisine is trying, noted Councilor Colucci. Colucci's, you know, he's a pretty sensible counselor, by the way. And he added, if it doesn't work, we'll go to round 2. That's about it. But here's what you got to look at. They came from Chelsea. They spent $25 million in Lynn. $25 million. They employ 540 people.
Really?
That's a good thing.
I've never even heard of them.
They're right on the Lynn.
They have a very big plant.
They outgrew
their
other plant.
And they're one of the largest employers in the city.
I believe they are
so
the
you have to
largest
wait.
now.
It isn't as if they're saying screw you. They're spending money trying to do the right thing, right? Mike's daughter reminded me about people who remember Lynn's smells. When they had Boyd potato chips, they used to love the smell of Boyd potato
Boston
chips.
Street.
Remember that?
I used to be involved there. I used to do the kosher inspections at Boyd.
Really? You remember that?
Yeah.
And so
Right behind
remember the
Lenox Hill.
What
Right?
about the rotisserie
Yeah,
downtown?
Lenox Hill.
The chicken rotisseries. People like, so some of these smells people like. When you go by some of these, you know, hamburger joints, you can smell it.
Yeah.
Hey. But you know, the first time I smelled the onion smell when they first were put in, I didn't know what it was. It was onion, a smell of onion all over my house. I kept looking. I thought my garbage had spilled. I was looking all over the house, honestly and truly. But I don't mind the smell because I know people are working there, and that's a good thing for me. And I love the smell of onions.
Do you think it's critical, or they have worked at?
It's kind of an inconvenience, I believe. I live in Wyoming Square.
And you smell it
I
up
can
there?
smell onion soup in my backyard. When I'm out there doing something in my backyard, I don't want to have the smell of onion soup in my yard.
The trade winds go from one way.
And the thing is also there are people in the Fay Estate. They say that they can smell the onion soup there. I mean, at least when Resco was used to burn marijuana, people got high, not sick from onion soup.
You know what's the worst than that? It's a sulfur smell this year. It's been terrible from the algae down the beach. It is.
That's nature.
Well, but that's because of the algae. That's sulfur. It's the sulfur
No, I
gas
understand it,
emitting.
but that smell, I grew up down that area, so I've had better than half a century of it.
What's going on with Kings Beach? One day there's a red flag, then one day there's a blue flag.
You
one
tell
day
me.
Red, you tell me. 'Cause
Well, they don't want any flags to offend each other.
Did we have
I have no idea.
Did we supposed to have flash flooding the other day?
Yeah.
I see nobody swimming there.
You know why?
Why?
Because you're taking your life in your hands.
Well, exactly
it's polluted.
right. Exactly right.
It was a blue flag. I drove my bike 2 days ago. I went up into Swampscott.
Well, what is you on this bike? You got to love
I
it
love because I like to keep myself in shape.
Yeah, I
you
got
know?
it,
I mean,
yeah.
you know. Anyway, and plus the girls. Anyway, so I'm going. It was a blue flag up there. Anyway.
Meaning?
Who the hell's going to go there?
If it's a blue flag, it's
blue
Democrat,
flag,
isn't it?
No,
It's a red flag, it's Republican.
Red Axelrod. Now let's hear from you.
Blue flag means you can swim. Red flag means you can't swim.
Well, the thing is, it takes 48 hours for the test results to come in. That's why there's such a delay.
Right. Malcolm's right. Even though the blue flag was up, the water still could be polluted because the test isn't
No one's
back yet.
going there.
Yeah.
You know who's never going to swim there?
Who?
You.
You.
Yeah, right. You see me there, it's not me. Okay, it's not me.
It's a hologram.
It's not me.
It's an impersonation.
Something to ponder, folks. Now, all of you going to listen to this, look at this, and ponder. I do not at all wonder that British youths is in revolt against the morbid doctrine that nothing matters but the equal sharing of miseries, that what used to be called the submerged tenth can only be rescued by bringing the other 9/10 down to their level. Winston Churchill.
But look at the times he was saying this.
That's the point.
Yeah.
He said it then, and the same thing can be said now. And what was he alluding to? Socialism, communism, which, by the way, we went to war against.
People, basically, what's the matter of society all over the world? We all have one thing in common. Most people are not very happy.
You know, I find that difficult because I like happy people.
Because you're happy? So
I'm very happy.
Well, okay, then you have, the few are still left, but most people are not happy.
Well, I have to tell you, the only time I wasn't happy, this was a sad event, and I'll share it with you folks. You know that I drive, I call her Miss Daisy. I take this woman on Fridays to her doctor's, shopping and things like that. She's a very decent lady. Well, she went to visit her brother, who was 91 years old, at a nursing home that I will not mention. And so I had to bring her up because it's very difficult for her to navigate, you know, because she's not very mobile. And I had a visit. And after spending about 45 minutes in a nursing home, I instructed my children to get me a gun, even though I don't know money. And I'm going to shoot myself before I'd ever go into a nursing home.
The smartest people were the American Indians. When a person got to be a member of the tribe, old and couldn't take care of himself, they would give him some food, a canteen, walk about a mile away from the camp and say goodbye.
Yeah.
I don't know. Rabbi, wait a minute.
That's basically what we're doing by putting people in those places. It's the same thing.
Yes, but it was so sad
Of course it is.
to see, you know, and the point is that do people want to be old?
I don't know.
It's a big business.
But Rabbi, what about suicide? Suicide is not allowed.
It's a big business. It runs.
It's huge. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah, it runs about $500 a day.
Ralph, you asked the rabbi.
I asked the rabbi, is suicide permitted? And I think we were alluding to suicide.
The reason being,
to
and
euthanasia.
it has to go into certain other areas as well. We honestly believe you do not own your own body.
Right.
God owns your body.
Okay.
And therefore, by suicide, we consider that murder. You're murdering yourself, so to speak.
Well, it goes even deeper.
A Jew who consciously commits suicide without any extenuating circumstances may not be buried in a Jewish cemetery.
Exactly. You know what? Well,
now, that's one of the reasons why, for example, religious Jews are not overly happy about abortion either, for the same reason. We don't own our own bodies.
But let me ask this, and Ralph, you should, you know, you're far more versed, being Irish, about Catholicism, because you guys, you know, you're at St. Patrick, we at St. Joseph. So the point being is that the Catholic Church is also opposed to suicide and abortion.
Right.
So in effect, Christianity and Judaism are interlinked.
Well, it goes even deeper because we believe by the fact that God gives life, He takes life.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Okay, so
End of life is very complicated, though, because when it comes to a situation, you know, should you cut off food and water? When do you cut off food and water? How much morphine should you give? Because morphine itself can kill you. You understand that?
Yep.
But Catholics believe that the Catholic tradition believes that morphine is okay if the end purpose is not to kill, but to kill pain, even though it is killing the person.
It's to comfort them at the end.
Right. If the end person is not to kill, if the end purpose is not
The
to
idea
kill.
what you were saying before about, you know, God gives life and God takes life. You know, we have our high holidays coming up in a few weeks, in 5 weeks, 4.5 weeks. And one of the very famous stories which are told about the ancient Romans, nothing to do with today's times, the ancient Romans, when they occupied Israel, they forbade Jews studying our Torah, our Bible. Those people who did and who taught it to others, they were told, we will execute you, and they did. And not just execution by quick, torture. The torture is unbelievable. One of the stories is told about one of the leading rabbis. They tied him to a stake. And they were going to burn him at the stake, but they first drenched his body with water to prolong the agony and the torture. One of the students said to him, why don't you simply open your mouth, let the fire come in, it'll end you quicker? And he says, no, I can't do that. God gives life, is up to God to take away.
It's a very sad situation what goes on now with elderly people, and every year there's more, and it's becoming the biggest majority of our society.
Well, take a look at this panel right here, and there's no youngsters here.
Yeah. But we look good. We look very good.
With modern hospice, though, when one is dying, it's a lot different than years ago. They know how to, usually, in almost all cases, without pain, you can go. Almost all cases.
Well, that's not what I was concerned about. What I was concerned about was the mental state and what does one do? I mean, they're in a room sleeping, there's no place to move. It's worse than being in prison.
It is prison.
Exactly. It's worse, though.
Except it has better furniture.
The thing that I find difficult, and this is why I have empathy, I'm lucky because I have a great family. I grew up in a great family. I had terrific children, grandchildren, the rest of it. For someone, you mentioned, Rabbi, about the fellow that didn't have any kids, wasn't married, was bright, real bright, and the guy that had 10 kids. Now, who was richer?
No, who had the family, obviously.
No question.
Yeah, the 10 kids. That's value. That's wealth.
Do you remember, you would do it, you've been in film, the famous movie about 50 years ago, A Hole in the Head. Remember this one?
Yeah.
So at one particular point, Frank Sinatra, Edward G. Robinson, Robinson played Sinatra's uncle. Sinatra's poor. And I think Robinson's wife refers to Sinatra, who has a kid, a nice kid. And she refers to him as poor. Robinson looks and says, no, he is not poor, he is broke.
That's right. That's a great distinction.
Yes.
That's a great distinction. When I think about that, every one of us could claim poverty, couldn't we? I mean, my father shined his shoes with people that lived on Beacon Hill. And one of my famous lines is that his great-granddaughter, my granddaughter,
now
lives on Beacon Hill. Okay?
I think all our parents here lived through the Depression, I believe.
Well, that's what the key to life is from basically decent people. If I can't have it in my lifetime, I want to see it that my kid gets it.
Yes.
That's exactly right. And why we lost that, I mean, it's not the here and now.
It's every man for himself.
That's right.
That's the problem. If we can get away from that a little bit, then then we don't have to worry about Bing, Bing, Bing and Chicago visiting Lynn. Then we don't have to worry about some of the things that we worry about, because if you have a little empathy for your neighbor and a little happiness, I mean, there's nothing more beautiful to me than to see an elderly couple, of which I'm one, holding hands walking down by Red Rock. That's a beautiful sight, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Somebody can have that type of...
It's like poetic.
It is poetic.
Yep.
And that's what I'm talking about. So, folks, go down to Lynn Beach. Go down to Red Rock. Smell the sea breeze. See the people. That's happiness.
But what's going on in Chicago is a classic example. It's so easy to define. All these people that are doing it are coming from broken families, if they have any family at all.
That's the problem.
They have really very little education. They have no good job. It's a dead-end world. So to go out on a Saturday night and have a good time by shooting someone, that's all they can do for themselves. There was a very famous sociological study done by the Rand Corporation about black people back in the 1960s, where they wear green suits and dye their hair red, because they can't join the country club.
But they had intact families. In the 1950s, the minority community, the black community in this country was more intact than the white families
But
were.
look what happened.
What happened was a great society. That's what happened.
Thank you.
The social welfare state. And you know what's happening now is there's an awakening taking place within the minority communities that this social welfare state is not necessarily a good thing.
And it may be too late for a lot of these
I'm not sure. I'll tell you what bothered me, though, today. And this is a little vignette. Probably shouldn't bring it up, but I will. I'm in line.
Where?
Walmart. I went there to get some stuff. And I'm in line, and in front of me, somebody had a basket full of hangers. I'm not talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 10. I'm talking about maybe 100 hangers. 3-pack, 6-pack, whatever they are, and a whole bunch of other stuff. When it came time to stick the card in, it had the facsimile of Cape Cod and Massachusetts on it. So my assumption would be that that card was...
EBT card.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Now, I couldn't help but notice that her purse was a Gucci. Not a fake Gucci, a Gucci. I can tell the difference between a fake one and a non-fake one. And I looked at her attire, and her attire was Saks Fifth Avenue.
Right.
That scalded me a little bit.
Right.
I must be honest with you.
I see that every time when I go. I shop at Price Right 3 or 4 times a week because I spread out my shopping, and every time I see these people using the EBT cards. If I happen to notice them when they go out to the parking lot, they get into a car, a 2019, 2018 car, a brand new car.
Oh, I see that all the time at
time.
Stop and Shop on Boston Street.
So that's an
frankly,
abuse of the system, is it not?
The system is being abused, absolutely.
And yet, if you bring that up, and by the way, this is not peculiar to any specific demographic group per se.
No.
It transcends.
It's universal.
Right, it's a universal. So get that point out there. But it is offensive, isn't it? Yes.
You know, it's human nature, like it or not, that those people who have their act together and presumably have made money are the smartest people as far as avoiding expenses, retaining their money. The poorer people are not as good at it. The richer people are the ones who are good. They're the ones who are abusing the system with that knowledge and with that motivation.
You live in Brookline.
Yes.
How many lottery stores are there in Brookline?
Enough.
Not like Lynn. My point being is that if you have nothing to lose, you take flight. I was shocked at if you want to buy certain types of convenience stores in Marblehead or Swampscott, you don't make any money.
No.
You make money in Lynn.
Yeah.
All right.
I go to a Stop and Shop very often to buy things. Constantly at customer service when I have to return something or ask a question. There are 4 people ahead of me who are buying tons of lottery tickets.
That's right. That's right. But here's the thing. If you take a look, and that's people trying to take a flyer, you know, to hit the big one, right? And I know because I have that affliction.
Right.
But what surprises me is that I don't understand how anybody can go to a 7-Eleven store, of which I visit often, and you know, they'll pay $1.99 for a bottle of water,
Right.
and when I can buy 24 of them for $2.99.
Yeah. Get it for about 10 cents a piece. Right.
I don't understand that. The folks that should be more frugal
Right.
aren't.
That's right.
To make your point.
Exactly.
They're totally ignorant of the whole topic.
By the way, can I give you a very quick Jewish approach to the lotteries? We believe as follows. Buying one lottery ticket is okay. Why? You're giving God the opportunity to do something for you naturally.
Yeah.
If he wants you to win, that one ticket is going to win. If he does not want you to win, you can buy 10,000 tickets and you will not win.
Right.
So one win, one ticket gives God the opportunity to do it for you. He doesn't want, don't waste 10,000
At O'Sullivan's last week, I just bought, I hadn't played Keno in a long, long time. I bought one ticket on Keno with the multiplier. I won $300.
And you didn't share with us.
Well, I told you if
You
you come
didn't
down,
even
I'll
get us
buy.
bagels.
And this is the guy that's going to half price night.
Exactly.
Really?
He's going to go down and have a couple of beers at O'Sullivan's. Is that where he's going?
I don't know.
O'Sullivan.
How much time do we have left? And by the way, I want to thank Dave Riley, who's done a wonderful job of,
Right.
you know, in Pedro's absence.
Ira,
Carried us along. What do you think?
Finish us off.
Doesn't he deserve it?
Take
And
us home.
to our roving reporter, we got to put you in the Rabbi's chair one time, right? We have to put
absolutely.
it on. Is that the news? It's all up.
Shalom.
Have a great week.
I'll buy one lottery ticket.
Come on Tuesday. See
Giving you
Joe.
a chance.
Tuesday night.
What you think? Good show?